Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Shaunneka and today I'm going to guide you through a yin yoga sequence with a beginner mindset. So a lot of you have been sending me and asking me questions how to access certain postures. Maybe you're new to the practice, and so I thought I would develop a sequence with a beginner in mind. So how would I do these postures if I was a beginner? I'm going to be guiding you through each posture as if it were your first time doing it. So whether you are a seasoned practitioner or whether you're a beginner, this is going to be a great class. If you are a seasoned practitioner, sometimes it's nice to see different ways that you can access a posture. And just remembering that yin yoga is all about relaxation and allowing gravity to do the work. So we're not looking to stretch beyond our limits, we're looking to approach them gently. So for this practice, you are going to need one block, and we will go ahead and get started. So we will start with an intense toe squat. Now I know intense toe squat, normally you would tuck your toes under and sit back onto your heels, dragging your pinky toes forward. And that is not always accessible for everybody. So grabbing your block, what you're going to do is you are going to extend your left foot in front, and you're still going to have your right toes tucked under, sitting back onto that heel. You're going to have the block out in front of you, and you can rest your left arm on your left knee. You can also place the block underneath that heel if that helps. So we'll be here, and halfway through I will cue you and we'll switch sides. We have come just about halfway. We're going to switch now. So removing the block from underneath you if it's there, and you're just going to switch sides. Coming into our last few breaths here. Nice deep breaths. So if you'd like, you could try our last 2 breaths sitting on both heels. So remove the block, tuck both heels under, and we'll take our last 2 breaths here. Nice big inhale. Open the mouth and sigh it out. One more inhale. And gently exhale. Go ahead, rock forward, untuck the toes, and just give them a little wiggle. Rotate through the ankles. So this one now will stretch just along the top of the shin, top of the foot. So normally in this posture, what you would do is you would simply bring your fingertips behind you and lift up your knees for the count of 3 breaths. But of course, for some of us, that is not a pose that is accessible. So another way to do it is to bring your knees and place them on the blocks with your toes pressing into the floor and sit back onto your heels like this, just taking 3 breaths. One big inhale. And exhale to let it go. Go ahead and just bring your knees off of the blocks. From here, we'll be making our way into a child's pose. So in a child's pose, your palms come to the mat, your knees open wide, you bring your big toes to touch at the back, and then you send your hips back into the saddle that you've created, and you walk your arms out, bringing your forehead to the mat. So for some of us, maybe we are bigger chested, or maybe our hips are a little bit tighter and we're unable to bring our hips down to our heels. So a way to incorporate your block now is you might need to bring your knees in just a little bit closer. You're going to place the block underneath your hips. I'm using a foam block, which makes it a lot more comfortable. And then you can come forward this way, and you can always stack palm on palm and let the forehead rest. Thinking about breathing into the back body. So expanding through the back of the rib cage on every inhale. Nice, long, smooth breaths. So we're coming into our last few breaths here. You can stay here with the block underneath you. Otherwise, you can go ahead and remove it for these last few breaths. Let's take our last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale, fill up. Open the mouth and sigh it out. One more inhale. And gently exhale. Open the eyes, coming all the way back up. Go ahead and just close the knees, bring them shut. Drape your belly over your thighs, stack fist on fist, and just allow the forehead to rest here. So from here, coming all the way up, we'll be making our way into our next posture, which will be frog. So grabbing your block and having it handy at the top of the mat, finding yourself in a tabletop position. So go ahead, in a tabletop position, you're going to open your knees as wide as is comfortable for you. So in frog pose, you want to make sure that your knees are in line with your hips. So you don't want your hips too far forward of your knees, nor do you want your knees too far back. This is more of a child's pose. So go ahead, once you have your hips in line with your knees, you're going to open up your feet so that your toes are pointing in the same direction as your knees. Once you have this position here, you're looking to gently push your bum back and coming down onto your forearms. So I know for some of us this is a little bit of strain on the forearms. So what I like to do is I take my block and I place it underneath my belly, and it gives me a place to rest. So as my belly is resting on the block, I can use my forearms to push forward and then push my bum back. And you can also, it helps to breathe into the block. It helps with relaxation and just opening up any tension in the hips, inner groin. Notice if you're gripping. Always remembering to push down into the forearms to send your bum back. You might even notice that over time, the longer we're here, your knees just naturally begin to open up themselves and the pose becomes wider. So we're coming into our last few breaths here. You can stay here or you can remove the block. Maybe bring the block underneath your forehead and you're still sending your bum back. Last few breaths. Let's take our last 2 breaths here. Nice big inhale, fill up. Open the mouth and sigh it out. One more inhale. And exhale. So lifting the gaze, remove the block. Go ahead and just rock forward very, very gently. You want to move very, very slowly, bringing the belly all the way down onto the mat. You can leave your legs out wide and just allow the forehead to rest for a moment. So these moments of rest in between each posture are important because it allows the body to not only reap the benefits of the pose we've done, but also it allows the body a moment to recoil, bounce back. I'm sure you can feel all of those nice sensations pulsating in the legs right now. So let's go ahead from here. Bring your hands by your side. You can shimmy your feet back in and just rock your hips from side to side. Push into your palms and come back up to a tabletop. So from here, we'll be making our way into pigeon, having your block handy. You're going to take your right foot And you're going to bring your right knee behind the right wrist and your right foot behind the left. Untuck your left toes, look over your left shoulder, and make sure your leg is behind you. So for some of us, the hip does not always come to the mat. Honestly, it depends on the day. It depends on what you've done, what you did the day before. So if your hip isn't coming to the floor, you can take a block, place the block, and wedge it underneath your hip, kind of acting like a kickstand. Or you can place a folded up towel or sweater underneath there. Always remembering to square off your hips and find length, and then come forward. So the block is acting as a kickstand, so you're not rolling too much onto one side, but you know that you need to actively square your hips. And make fist on fist and let the forehead rest. So everything in this posture is soft, so notice if you're clenching your teeth or pursing your lips. Belly is soft. Toes are relaxed. We'll be coming into our last few breaths here. You can keep the block underneath. If you're going to keep the block, consider walking your elbows out further and wider. And if you want, you can always remove the block and bring the block underneath the forehead. Elbows out wide, and the weight of the head is dropping into the block. Last few breaths here. Let's go ahead and take our last 2 breaths. Really fill up and sigh it out. One more inhale. And exhale. Lifting the gaze. Remove the block. Push into your palms. Come all the way up. You're just going to send your left leg that's out behind you out in front of you. And extend the right leg out in front of you as well. Your hands behind you. You can sink your weight back. Just take a moment. So noticing the difference in one leg and the other leg. And we'll bend the knees and go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So rock forward and we'll do the other side. So this time from your tabletop, you're going to bring your left knee behind your left wrist and your left foot comes behind the right. So you want to make sure that there's a nice line from your knee to your big toe. Grab your block, look over your right shoulder and make sure your right leg is nicely out behind you. And placing that block underneath your left hip. Square off, the hips find length. And on the exhale, fold forward any amount. So again, relaxing all the tiny muscles in your face. Allow the belly to be soft. So we will be making our way into our last few breaths here. If you want, you can keep the block where it is and simply open up your elbows wider and more forward. Or you can remove the block and place it underneath the forehead. Taking some of your deepest breaths here. Taking our last 2 breaths. Nice big inhale, swell up. Open the mouth and let it go. Last one, inhale. And exhale. I'm going to lift the gaze, push into the palms. Remove the block, coming all the way back up. From here, you're going to lean your weight into your left hip. Extend your left leg out to the side and to the back so that you're now able to lay all the way down onto your back. Just readjust the hips. You can keep the knees bent, or you can extend your legs out wide the length of your mat. Arms out wide for your Shavasana. So let's go ahead, push into your elbows, pick up your chest, push the back of the skull into the mat, and then draw your shoulders down and away from your ears to make space. Set yourself back down onto the mat. You should feel a nice elongation in your Shavasana. Just taking it all in here. So as always, feeling free to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like. I do hope you enjoyed today's practice, and I hope your hips are happy. I look forward to seeing you back here again soon, and have a wonderful rest of your day.